you about something else. And every time I went to Wales, he was in a different house.
I know.
And I was have to ask the porter of the station, where was Jim Murphy? And they said, look at me. Oh, you mean Jamesy?
Jamesy?
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord. I couldn't imagine Uncle Jim being called Jamesy.
Well, that's what he was born with, christened with James.
Yeah, James, not Jamesy.
James Joseph Murphy. Oh no, he was called James Christopher. Yeah. I remember Mary Ann putting in one of a picture of that, putting a box up on the chair and climbing up to an old shelf to get the old messengers. You know the messengers were, the monthly holy book.
Oh,
I
yeah.
still get them.
Can
the
you?
Irish Messenger. Yeah. And for a name and the date he was born. And it was St. Irenaeus' Day.
Oh, good grief.
And that's why Pete is called Peter Irenaeus.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. St. Irenaeus. I think he was a patron saint of birds, I think. Yeah. And I was christened Julia after Dad's sister, Auntie Julia. She married some man, I think her name was Whelan. When she got married, Mrs. Whelan, yeah, with Auntie Julia. Yeah. Mary Ann had a name for us all. Oh, I was christened Julia, but the girls that time that went to America, they were all called Mary or Bridget. And they left, and of course they worked for madams and houses. And when the madams used to go out and meet us to talk about my Mary and your Mary and my Julia and your Julia, my Bridget and your Bridget. So someone went to America and they were called Julia. And when she came back, she was called Delia.
Oh.
And that's how Auntie Katie got the name from me.
Ah,
So
right.
she called me Delia. Well, she looked after me until I was 4 years old. The custom that time was one of the sisters would live with an older sister when she was having children. So Auntie Katie was with us until I was about 4 or 5.
Auntie Katie, Granddad's sister?
No, Mom's sister.
Oh, all right, okay.
Yeah, Madge's mother.
Oh, Madgie's mum.
Yeah. And she was very bossy. I remember her sitting in a little stool by the fire in the corner, and she used to have a twig, a twig rod, and she was threatening. And as soon as Mum would come in, because I still sold, they'd all run to her complaining about Auntie Katie. And I remember Mum saying one day, she won't be so smart, we should have her own. And she wasn't. She had 5 boys, hadn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, she had 2 girls. Poor Nora was there. And she was a con sister, which she wasn't a full shilling. She was affected by one of the old measles or
Yeah.
childhood diseases. But she stayed in the house. She was sister to Con. Nola, God rest her soul.
Who's Con, Mum?
Auntie Katie's husband.
Oh, right, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, Con Donoghue. And then what? Well, yeah, there were 6 girls in the family, in Mom's family, and 2 of them married to Murphy men, 2 of them married to Salona men, and 2 of them married to Donoghue men. Straight
Oh,
one
very
day.
good.
Yeah.
What customs? What customs were there then that there aren't anymore?
Oh, I don't know.
Well, you used to tell me about the Wren boys and
Oh,
Uncle Jim dressing up in his
Oh, yes, St. Stephen's Day.
yeah St Stephen's Day.
The Wren, the king of all birds. You know, the Wren is the king. Is the king of birds,
Yeah, that's from an old fable.
is it?
Yeah, that's when the Wren said he could go higher than any bird on earth.
Oh, yeah.
And the eagle said, "No, you can't. I can go higher than any bird on earth." So what the Wren done is he hid under the eagle's wing until the eagle could go
Hi.
no more higher. Got to its top height, and the Wren popped out and said, "I told you I could get higher." So that's how he became the king of birds. But they hunted him because he was meant to have given away Saint Stephen. Saint Stephen was meant to be hiding in the bushes.
Oh, yeah.
And when the Romans, I think it was Roman, came looking for him, the Wren jumped out screeching. And that's why they hunt the Wren on St. Stephen's Day.
Oh,
And that's
really?
why they catch the Wren. And that's what the Wren boys were for, in all their
Outfit.
outfits. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it used to be a great day.
Yeah.
The Wren, the king of all birds, St. Stephen's Day, he was cut in the first.
Yeah.
Get up, laddie, and give us a treat, I'll forget the rest of it. But boys used to go home, especially for that day, to go around in the Wren.
Oh.
Uncle Jim, Mum's brother, he was a teacher in Cork. And he loved to go home and dress up and go around in the Wren. And
He was a grown man.
Huh?
He was a grown man.
yeah.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They went home from England or wherever they were for St. Stephen's Day. It was a great day, yeah. And then they'd have a ball night in some house where they dance all night and drink and smoke, and there'd be a bottle, I think, of port wine for the ladies, and there'd be a bottle of not a bottle, a barrel of Guinness for the men, yeah,
Ah.
yeah.
Wow.
And Jim was very good at tapping this, put a fastener
Yeah.
in and turn it on, fill up your pint.
And do you remember who were your neighbours then? There would be the Lynches, of course.
Oh, there were Lynches.
Yeah. And who else was there? Was there more Murphys around there?
No. Clonlosford, where Kevin was from.
Right.
They were all Murphys there at one time.
Yeah.
Every house was Murphy. But
There was lots of Murphys in Grawns as well, Mum. At one time, because don't forget, great granddad Peter and Bartholomew lived in the house on the cliff,
oh, good.
and then your dad lived in the bungalow for a little bit further back, next to where the Lynches lived.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, there was lots of well, not lots, but there was Murphys around.
Yeah,
Murphys I'd never heard of on Grawns.
yeah. And I remember that thing. There was 21 families in Grawns when he was little.
Yes, there was.
Yeah.
And what about the teachers at the Cross House?
The Cross House.
Did they ever come up and join in or anything?
Oh God, no, they were snobs, weren't they?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
They wouldn't come now.
oh. the old master on the way. And Chrissy was in Cork and she trained us playing the piano, I think.
Oh, right.
Chrissy. And Agnes was leading. And Henry was a bit of a, he had a farm with the show, Henry. And then, where was Michael? Where was your Michael? I think maybe he was a teacher somewhere. Yeah, away from home. And when the old master died, it was John Doherty and myself watched the night in him.
What does that mean?
He would stay up all night with the
With the
corpse.
body, okay.
With the corpse all night, yeah. It was John Doherty. And I went to Pulleen and I collected a lot of green leaves and I made a great big wreath.
Ah,
And I brought it with me to him. And nobody knew me. They all thought I was a stranger from Tipperary.
and whose funeral was that too, Mum?
Huh?
Whose funeral was that?
The old master in the cross house.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
What was his name? It's his daughter that taught you, was it?
Huh?
It was his daughter that taught you.
No.
Him?
No, that was Dinnick.
Oh, right.
And Bernie's father.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and Mrs. Harrington and Agnes Sheehan from Carl. God bless them. Them teachers were very good to me. Oh, Mrs. Hayes, she was from Bandon. And when Brendan was born, Mum was hemorrhaging.
Yeah.
And she was taken away to Cork.
Yeah.
They had to bring her up to the main road to the ambulance.
Yeah.
And the mattress in the back of the car.
Yeah.
And when there was a nurse in the ambulance travelling with her. And they stopped at Ballylickey and the driver went into the Oban Hotel for brandy, a glass of brandy for her. And she hemorrhaging.
Yeah, lovely. I'm sure that did her the world of good.
And the woman with the Oban said to him, Paddy, who you got in the ambulance? And he said, oh, a Murphy woman from the west. She just had a baby and she's hemorrhaging. And she's lost a lot of blood. Even the way to Cork with her. And the news got out and Auntie Rita was living local there. And Auntie Rita heard it. And Mum was her sister. And it played in her brain. And she wanted to leave and come up and look after us. Who's going to look after the children? And they had to lock her in the room.
Oh, no.
Yeah. No, she'd get out, she wasn't able to, you see. She'd get out and try and come to ground. I remember coming in her bicycle. Jim and I were up on the mountain, and she came on her bicycle all the way from Bantry. And she wore a scarf and was flying back over the road. And we didn't know it was her. And Jim shouted, look who's going west now, the flag of distress. And we got home, she was there before us.
Oops, I bet she was.
Oh, I tell you, she was no joke. I remember her giving Jim a walloping on the floor. Mum rescued him. And I remember her saying to him, you're not dealing with your mother now. Because he wasn't.
And so what about the gorse burning? Do you remember that when the ships used to go off to America? When somebody was going to America, what would happen?
Huh?
When somebody was going off to America,
Yeah.
what would happen?
Oh, there's like bonfires and everything. And if there was anyone around that we knew was going, you're coming, we'd always have the whole forest bushes lined up for a bonfire for them. And that was the last and first they'd see you Ireland.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's really sad.
Yeah. And we used to wait. When we knew somebody was going, we knew what time the ship would be leaving Cork. And we'd be waiting to see the ship coming over past the harbour,
Yeah.
the mizzen head. And if we wanted to get near the fire, somebody would run out and we'd jump into their seat. Well, there was 9 of us, wasn't there? It was a lot in one small little room.
Yeah. But what a lovely thought.
Yeah,
That must have been heartbreaking.
yeah. Yeah.
But then in the end, there was only,
Is that Caroline?
no. In the end, there was only, 2 families left in Grawns, wasn't there? There was
Yeah,
the Lynches and yourselves.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the Lynches and Murphys were together for 400 years.
Yep.
Yeah.
What was first communions like?
Oh, they're very important. Oh, very important. I remember I had a white, a church candle, and all came to see me the night before with some white lupins. And the candle was dressed all the way down
Oh.
with white lupins. And it was, you'd go up to the church with the candle lighting. And when you'd be going up to receive Holy Communion, you'd pass it off to the next one on your seat to mind it while you're up for Holy Communion.
Oh, and what did you do after then?
And I think you'd go around to the hall and the priest would come around and
Are you
talk
guys
to
still
you.
going with these?
No,
All finished?
I've finished with this, thank you.
Are you still going with yours?
Are you still eating yours, Mummy?
No, I have it here.
Oh yeah, she's have it, yeah. And then Grandma you'd all make butter and hide it in the bog until Fair Day, or until the butterman came.
Oh no, that was before that when there was no price for butter. And then to save it and send it to Cork by horse and car. Can you
Right.
remember poor old horse going all the way to Cork?
No.
Apparently the bog preserves
Yeah. It's got lots of iron in it or something.
Yeah.
Some sort of mineral.
boots and shoes and things have been found
Yeah.
in perfect condition.
And butter. 300-year-old butter.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So that never got to Cork.
And it didn't melt either.
No.
And making the butter the old churn.
Yeah.
And then we got him. Yes. Jim, God bless him. God rest his soul. He came all the way from Bantry with it on the back of his bike. A great big battle churn. Can you believe it?
Good grief.
Yeah.
He carried everything on that bike.
Huh?
He carried everything on that
Yeah,
bike.
he did, yeah. Yeah. And I remember the master of school telling the children about it. Oh, he cycled all that way with his big barrel.
And they're heavy. They're heavy.
Oh, and up all them hills.
Yeah.
Up cool.
Must have been one strong man.
Oh yeah, he was. Yeah, we were all very strong.
Yeah,
strangers.
you're strong.
Yeah, all very strong. When I was going to school, all the girls wanted to be their friend. They wanted to meet me, to be their friend, because I'd protect them from the other.
Well, I wouldn't think you'd need any protecting from Dipna. I think Dipna could protect herself. And she still can.
No, Dimna was very quiet, and Sheila. Sheila got married into Prairie,
Oh, right.
and Pete was to some meeting way up in the northwest somewhere, and he was talking to a priest, and he knew Sheila, and he said to Pete that he knows she's from your way. And Pete said he knew of her, but he didn't know her personally, but she was a neighbour. And the priest said she was the best thing that ever entered Prairie.
Oh,
Yeah, that was nice.
that was lovely.
I thought her mother and grandmother, they'd be proud.
What was their last names?
Sullivan's, I suppose.
Okay.
Katie. Of course, they had a nickname called Batteries.
Batteries.
Yeah,
Let's get that nickname.
Bat. Very, very simple. In them days, the game was stone throwing
Oh,
at
right.
the crossroads
Yeah.
in Sunbury. And Battery, the grandfather, used to always win. He was a quickest. So he was nicknamed Battery,
Oh, wow.
and that followed on the family.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
Battery.